Hello everyone, as you may be aware, Paradox recently released Ancient Relics for Stellaris, a new story pack DLC. Now I'm a bit late with this, I had some stuff come up, and then I also don't get sent stuff early from them anymore, so I'm always going to be just a little bit late with this, unfortunately. But anyways, I just got done with my campaign, and I thought I'd share my experiences with it and outline what's in the pack for people who may have missed it. So first and foremost, this is a story pack. It's a bit light on features and a bit heavier on the events side, as you would expect. Now it should come as no surprise then that this type of DLC really is for those who love exploration in Stellaris. You know, finding anomalies on planets, chaining together events that lead you to some location or breakthrough. It does have some stuff in there for even for the people who just basically skip the events, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, before we get into it, I just wanted to outline that I won't be posting any spoilers for this DLC. It is a story pack after all. Most of the content is, in my opinion, spoiler worthy, so I'm going to be trying to avoid that. Now, there are channels out there that do deep dives on all the items and events, and all the information is on their wiki if you want to know exactly how much of everything is in the game, but I genuinely just don't want to know that stuff myself, personally, because I just love exploring Stellaris. And it's one of the only games I actually just enjoy playing these days, and play at length, and just don't want to know everything about it. I want to find it out. So, let's talk about what's new in the DLC from a feature standpoint. The first thing you'll probably notice when playing are the new excavation sites. These are essentially chaptered anomalies, but the big difference is that they need to be owned by you, as in they need to lie within your territory before you can begin excavating them. Now, once you do have one within your grasp, you need to send a science ship to excavate it, and depending on their skill level, they're going to roll a chance each month to uncover clues and progress the chapters. The more clues they get, the higher the chance there is of getting a breakthrough and advancing the chapter. There are also sometimes events that can occur that just remove clues, so it sets the progress back a little bit. So these excavations are essentially really long form anomalies that you'll assign a scientist to for a few years typically, and as they uncover the mystery you can read back on the events and may even earn rewards as you go. Now again, without spoiling it, these stories have been really great. I initially didn't really think I'd care too much about new anomalies, but they've been done in such an interesting and unique new way. They really separate themselves, I feel. They're almost like finding audio logs in Fallout or something, because the story progresses. You know, you recover data about a ship that went missing, then find out who was on it, then why, what happened, where it is now, and unlock something at the end. They're really quite interesting, and some of them are genuinely quite funny as well. I was really laughing at one in particular about a crashed starship and the absurd anatomy of one of the creatures on board. It was really actually quite funny. Now, I'll be honest, I almost never laugh, so this is a big deal. Now, I mentioned that they were chaptered, and the most they can give you is 6 chapters, but you're not aware of how many there are until you complete them. The least amount they can have is 2, and those are pretty disappointing, to be honest. They might as well just be like regular anomalies. From looking online briefly just to see how many there were, there's about 22 of these excavation sites in the game, which isn't all that much really, but considering that there's so many chapters in a lot of them, it's sort of the equivalent of about, I think I worked out about 80 events, which is a decent amount, and they are very all well written. Now, another feature of the DLC is a new resource called Minor Artifacts. This is a resource that you don't earn over time, but instead you'll typically find them on excavations and through older events in the game as well. These can be used in the new Relics tab to activate buffs. For instance, you can pay 50 artifacts to unlock an L-gate insight directly if you own distant stars. Or you can activate more generalized buffs for a shift in ethics or military and research buffs. It's actually quite interesting because this DLC touches on almost every other DLC in the game in some way to kind of tie them all together. So if you're an owner of other DLCs, Ancient Relics does sort of have better value for you, which is kind of nice. Seeing as we're looking on the Relics tab, I'll mention the Relics themselves. Relics are like activation buffs that you'll find through excavations and certain events. They cost influence to activate just like an edict, but they are active for 10 years and they can only be active one at a time. As well as that, they also contribute to your score in the victory screen based on how many you collect, and they also have much more specialized effects based on the relic itself. Now, some are buffs to specific things, some will give you fleets, some give you pops, random technologies, things like that. Now, relics aren't actually a DLC feature, they are part of the free update, the 2.3 update. There are 9 relics in the base game for free for everyone, and there's 8 for the Ancient Relics DLC, and there's 1 for Apocalypse and 1 for Leviathans. Again, they seem to tie these things together, probably just to keep continuity across the updates and DLC, but it is nice that the DLCs are technically getting a little bit more value and content as time goes on. I also forgot to mention the relics have pretty cool display artwork and make an awesome noise on activation. I think it's different depending on the relics. That's pretty cool. You don't want to overlook the audio guys. They've done a stellar job. And moving on, we have Relic Worlds, and before we get into what they are, have a listen to how they sound. Love how they sound, absolutely love it. The echoes of a dead city. So these are essentially ruined Ecumenopolis worlds that you can colonize straight away. They come with an excavation to find out what happened, and they're pretty powerful. They give a boost of 15% to research on the planet, and also can be restored into an Ecumenopolis without the Archaeology Project Ascension perk. Generally, the planets are full of ruins tile blockers that can be cleared away for energy, but if you do restore the Ecumenopolis, the 15% research modifier changes to a 10% research modifier, so bear that in mind. And that's sort of it for the main bulk of content in the pack. There's also 2 new precursor event chains in the game that are fairly substantial. They tell their stories through excavations rather than anomalies that are linked together across the map and have their own unique relics at the end. As per the patch, it's also much more random what ones you get now. Now, in addition, there's a new Plantoid portrait that has been added for you to play, and you don't need to own Plantoid's pack to use it. There's also 4 new music tracks. Now, I'm not sure if people feel how I feel about Stellaris music, but I absolutely love it. Each DLC comes with its own themes, and this one is no different. This is probably the most unique in the entire soundtrack, but I love how it fits in. I like all 4 tracks. I'm not really a music critic, but I'd describe the tracks as maybe mysterious, a little eerie, and actually quite uplifting. There's a strange hopefulness to each one. That's really quite nice. Have a listen. I'll just play a snippet of each one. It's so good. If you don't like that, you're dead inside. I'm sorry. Anyways, that's essentially it for the pack. Like I said, I don't want to go into spoiler territory, I just wanted to share my experience with it so far. In my campaign, I received some stupidly powerful stuff from the excavation, so I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe toned down a bit in some aspects. Nevertheless, this DLC and this update generally uplifted how I've been feeling about the game lately. I think this is a really great patch, and it's a really good first step DLC after Megacorp, which for me at least was a bit rocky. Now, I'm still not a fan of certain aspects of that 2.2 overhaul, but as Paradox refine it, I'm definitely warming to it more. In terms of my campaign, I noticed some AI improvements, which was good to see as well. I noticed a few instances of the AI rushing to systems with planets in them, skipping over other systems, and then linking back up with their territory afterward, which is quite interesting to see, and it also had considerable challenge in some of my wars. I played Pacifist, because I just wanted to do digging basically, and got attacked by 2 empires at once, and they were using gateways and wormholes to rush my planets and land troops where they could. I was actually really quite happy with how responsive and alert and aggressive they were, so definitely a step up there for me as well. There's some other new things in the patch as well. There's a new sector assignment tool in this patch, which sort of lets you auto-generate a sector. I'm not really a fan of this system. A long time ago, you could just make your own sector. I kind of just wish they'd just let you do that again. But either maybe enforce a size limit to the sector, or make it cost a bit more the bigger it gets, if that's what you're trying to kind of restrict. You don't want to have a blanket 1 sector buff across everything. But if you kind of just curtailed how big they can get, I think giving people the freedom to choose their sectors will be a lot better. I don't know, but to me, it just seems like it's not really working correctly right now. I'm trying to essentially roll and re-roll a sector until it's how I want it, and that doesn't seem right. Now, they've added sector capitals now, which is interesting, and you can tell that they've probably got plans for it in future, especially what they've been talking about in the dev diary, so I'm interested to see where they go with that. I just hope they can give it a bit more control to the player in that regard. Now, one bit of control they did give is you can designate the type of world that you make, which is cool. It used to be kind of auto-generated, so now it just gives planets a bit more of a focus. Also, this patch is now a 64-bit application, and it feels like it's been running a lot smoother, so top points for performance with this patch as well. So yeah, that's my experience with the game as of late. I highly recommend the DLC if you're interested in the exploration side of Stellaris primarily. I was really thrilled reading some of the events, and I didn't really think, you know, they were going to be that great, but that just shows good writing. I mean, it really captivated me. And the sort of collectathon that goes with it for the relics is quite fun. My only complaints would be that relics are eternally lost if an empire gets them and then the empire dies. It would be kind of nice if there was some sort of recovery mechanic in there for missing relics of lost empires, or maybe the ability to trade them. One thing I was thinking as well is it seems like it would be perfect if Megacorps had a new civic, like private collectors or something, where they could kind of go after or see where the relics are or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, the only other thing that I might have a little gripe about would be that they added a new Leviathan in, but it is just a reskin of one already in the game. Now, I normally don't really mind that too much, but when comparing this to Distant Stars, that had a bunch of new ship models and a few Leviathans as well, and new mechanics with L-gates and the cluster and stuff, so it just feels like it's missing just that little bit of that extra 10% for me, you know, compared to Distant Stars. I think Distant Stars overall is still probably better, but there you go. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know what you think of the DLC in the comments and if you'll be picking it up or have it already. If you want to get more involved with Republic of Play, we have a Discord for chatting and organizing multiplayer games in Stellaris and other games as well. If you want to help support this channel, Patreon is a great way to allow me to continue working. And if you like, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss a video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.